Chris Parry from EQUITY.GURU, and today we're talking about companies I hate. Today's company is Canopy Growth Corporation, which is WEED as a ticker symbol in Canada, CGC in the US. Why do I hate Canopy Growth? Let me tell you a story that harkens back to a different age, a better age, when everything cannabis related was heading on up, and everything that wasn't was dwarfed by comparison. You're looking at a company in Canopy that, man, when it was 55 cents, I was saying to people, I don't like this deal. It got as high as $72. So, okay, one in the back of the head for me. But I'll say this, while there were several times where I thought, oh, okay, well, they've outdone me, they're up again. Every single time in the back of my mind, I said to myself, they are building something on sand. Yes, the market cap is up. Yes, people are making a lot of money, but there's nothing here. Every quarter, they would go out and they would buy a company, buy a competitor, overpay, but get that money back in an expanded market cap. Now, that's an old ploy. When the market is frothy, you go out and you buy shit, because if you spend $20 million, the value of your company is going to go up by $30 million, right? This is what happens and has happened in the cannabis space from about 2017 up to 2020. Now, or 2019, now it's a different story. Now you don't get any credit for a purchase because you're just buying someone else's problems. Now, the problem for Canopy is it is nothing but everyone else's problems. Guarantee you the guys at 7 Acres are looking at the deal they did to sell to Canopy and are saying, hallelujah. The guys at Doja, they got $300 million for a tiny little grow in Kelowna that was nowhere near profitable and whose product still sits on the shelves 2 years later. Man, these guys, they just aced Canopy out of the picture. And I'll tell you what, if we go and we have a look at Canopy's brands, it's like a graveyard. It's amazing. Okay, so here's the deal. The Tweed brand, which is what everything should be under because it was their initial, here we are the big dogs in the space. Tweed was the brand that everyone was like, well, they're just going to dominate the market because they've raised all this money. They've got such a high valuation. Here's dispensaries. Everyone's going to go buy Tweed. Well, you know what happened? Everyone did buy Tweed, and it sucked. The product sucked because there was no mastery behind it. There was no people at this company that were cannabis people. They were market people. They got brought in to turn a chocolate factory into a cannabis facility. Good luck with the rats. So, hey, let's go and buy something. We'll buy Doja. That's a hot ticket. Sure, go buy Doja. Good brand. Made some moves on the market. Was heading on up. Vastly overpaid for it. And never got any benefit out of it. Was trying to flip it 6 months later for next to no dollars. Doja is a brand that doesn't get marketed anymore. And it's just the second one. Tokyo Smoke was a big deal. Oh, the Tokyo Smoke stores, they look like Apple stores if they sold coffee. You know what they don't do? Make money. Let's say Deep Space, which is a beverage brand, as I can recall it, and gummies. Hey, man, it works. It gets you fucked up. You know what else works? Every other brand on the market. There's nothing special about Deep Space. And it tasted like grass clippings. Okay, 7 Acres. They bought 7 Acres. Not such a premium on that deal. That one was struggling. But quality product. Quality product. You would think that they would take that 7 Acres facility and those people and say, blow everyone else out. We're moving the 7 Acres crew in across the board. All of our facilities are going to have oversight by the 7 Acres master growers. Who even talks about 7 Acres anymore? I don't see it at the damn dispensaries. And it was something that I looked for. It was one of the few products that you could go out there and people would say, oh, 7 Acres, yeah, it was good. You know what they say about it now? Not as good. Vert in cannabis, who gives a shit? TWD, TWD, a simple brand with one product cannabis. Nobody cares. Simple Stash, the cut price brand that cannibalized every other brand that they have. Nobody cares. Sugarleaf, nobody cares. Highway, nobody cares. True Vera, who cares? Blisco, well, there was a brand that had a bit of quality about it, a little bit of panache when it first came out. They bought it up and they didn't do anything with it. So this is just Canada. All those brands are just Canada. They're not even into the US yet. We'll get there. But one thing that they also bought was Metrum. They paid $400 million for this early stage company that gave them a little bit more exposure out there in Canada. And people were like, oh, Metrum's a good brand. You know what Metrum was doing? They were hiding fertilizer in the roof panels. And they got busted by the feds. And just as Canopy bought them. End of story with that product. Okay, so let's get into the US. More brands, okay? First and Free, nobody cares. It's a CBD thing. Martha Stewart, yeah, maybe something will happen there. Quattro, nobody really cares. It's another beverage brand, cannibalizes their existing brand. Surety Pro is CBD. Whistle, without the T and the E, is a vape system. Hey, let's go international. Spectrum Therapeutics. Stores and Bickle, This Works. And BioSteel, an energy drink company. These guys have so much shit going on and no idea how it all functions together. A smart company would say, here's what we're going to do. We're going to buy one brand in each province that is excelling in that province, that is selling well, clearly because the product is good. Great, we reduce our shipping costs. We have maybe 5 facilities, and that's it. That's all we need. If we're doing well in them, we can expand those facilities, but we don't need to buy 35 facilities. We don't need to buy every damn company that's out there that will agree to let us bend them over. We don't need to buy US brands that we can't book. We don't need to buy international brands that nobody's heard of. You don't need 35 brands. You need one that goes across the country and everybody says, that's a good one. So you know what's happening over at Avant Brands, this little outfit also in Kelowna that was offered the Doja Grow and said, that's okay, we're going to keep our cash, thank you very much. Avant Brands, not a client, went out there and said, all right, so we're going to just do good stuff. We're going to keep it small. We're going to rationalize our expenses. And we're going to grow by virtue of quality. Every quarter, we're going to grow a little bit. We're not going to go out there and raise $50 billion and then try and buy everybody up and try and buy market share, which is what Canopy's done. We're going to just go out there and earn our market share. And we'll find that people will find us. That's a simple business model. And it works. So these guys, hey, they're only a $30 million market cap. Crazy. Stupid, nowhere near as good as Canopy's $2 billion. But you know what they're doing? Losing less money. So now that we get to that bit, let's go into Canopy and talk about what's happened in the past. So in the past, Canopy has lost a fortune. Last period, net revenue of $140 million in Q3 2022, a decline of 8% versus the year before. Total global cannabis net revenue of $83 million represented a decline of 20% over the year before. Other consumer products, blah, 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 increase. Other consumer products mean CBD, and who gives a shit? The impact from acquired businesses, net revenue declined 17%, and global cannabis net revenue declined 34%. Gross margin, 7%, compared with 16% in Q3 2021. 7% margin? What? Like, what are you doing, running a restaurant? I've had a restaurant before. That was my margin. And you're doing a global cannabis play, and you have a margin of 7%? Jesus Christ. Fold up the tent. Like, put the shotgun to the horse's head. He's done. Like, this is ridiculous. So, their big advantage that they put out on their financials was, hey, SG&A expenses in Q3 2022 declined by 19% versus a year earlier. Great. And that was driven by year-over-year reductions in general and administrative and research and development expenses. They've cut their R&D expenses by 53%. What are you going to do? Like, how are you going to find the next good product? You're not doing any R&D. You know what that means? All that talk back in the day about medical patients, about how we're going to do all our trials and we're going to convince doctors that weed is the way forward for a bunch of ills, donezo. They've killed it all. So all you've got is that low margin that they're trying to squeeze with every single thing they can. They've just cut 10% of their workforce. Net earnings in Q3 2022 amounted to a loss of $115 million, which was a $714 million improvement versus the year before. The year before, they wrote off $830 million. Oh boy. Adjusted EBITDA loss in Q3 22 was $67 million, a $1 million improvement versus a year earlier, driven primarily by the reduction in the company's SG&A expenses, mostly offset by lower sales and a decline in gross margins. This company is infested. It is bed bugs. It is cancer. This is AIDS of cannabis right here, right? Yes, they've got free cash flow of $168 million. Their cash position is $1.4 billion, right? Well, that's fantastic. $1.4 billion in December 31st, 2021. But that's down from 2.3 billion a year earlier. So I don't even know what to tell you, man. Like, they go into great detail in their financials, trying to tell you that oh yeah, we're doing really great with this BioSteel energy drink. It's in Circle K bodegas. Look, man. So that's what's happened, and it's a horror show. Let me tell you what's gonna happen next, because the company has put out guidance to warn everybody that the shit is gonna hit the fan more. Now, a couple of years ago when they changed CEOs, the outgoing CEO said, "We are 5 years from profitability." And everybody shrugged and said, "What do you know? You're just the CEO. There's a new CEO coming." When the CEO tells you you're not going to be profitable for 5 years, listen to him. This is not somebody who was sugarcoating. His job was gone, and he's telling you the truth. There's no profitability in this company's future. Why? Because they overpaid for everything they have. Everything they have was bought because it would move the share price, not because it was an integral part of the company. And now what's left is squeezing by getting rid of staff, squeezing by stopping research and development. You've got way too many brands that aren't making any money. All of your product is bullshit, and people who use the product know it and talk about it. That's why you've got so many brands, because nobody would buy Tweed in and of itself. All of your brands reducing sales every quarter. Why is that? No repeat business. Dispensaries don't want it. Customers don't know what it is. The customers are like buying brands like 7 Acres, not realizing that they're sad forms of their former selves. They go and buy some Doja and look at the date that it was actually produced. And like, it's been sitting on the shelf for 9 months. They get Tweed only by accident, only if everything else is sold out. And all you see online is, it's not as bad as I thought, but you know, this is a mess of a company. And it's got a major stake owned by Constellation Brands, which is a liquor giant. There'd be natural synergies if in the US weed was federalized, but that's not going to happen. Not this election cycle, because as you can see, the Democrats can't get anything passed by Republicans, and mostly by their own Democrats. So what do you think is going to happen? That someone's suddenly going to say, "Hey, let's legalize weed," and the Republicans are going to be like, "Cool, bro." That Senator's Mansion and Cinema on the Democrat side that won't even pass voter rights legislation will say, "Yeah, cool, bro." It's not going to happen. All the people who talk about the legalization of weed federally in the US are lying to you. They have a hidden agenda, not even a hidden agenda, an obvious agenda. And that's they want you to stop the bleeding in cannabis stocks. Don't listen to them. It's bullshit. There is no federalization of cannabis happening until there's a Republican in office. And even then, probably not, because Republicans now are doing the Handmaid's Tale shit. So what's the outlook? There is no outlook. Constellation Brands eventually will tire of watching things get written off by Canopy Growth Corp, and they will either flip out of it or they will just go on a fire sale, get rid of all the brands, rationalize this thing onto 2 or 3 facilities, which is what should have happened 3 years ago. But I'll tell you what they're doing this year. Shall I? Aligned to Canopy Growth's full year 23 strategic review, the company is conducting the following actions: reducing costs of goods sold by lowering per gram cultivation costs. Lowering quality is what they want to tell you. Implementing flexible manufacturing platform inclusive of contract manufacturing for certain product formats. In other words, let's white label other people's shit that we make no money growing right now. We'll make no money growing it for somebody else. Good plan. Right-sizing indirect costs and general efficiencies across the supply chain. Sure, why not? You should be doing that anyway. Aligning SG&A costs with short-term business expectations by reducing third-party professional fees and office costs. Well, that'll save you $1.50. And further streamline the organization to drive process-related efficiencies. You know what all that amounts to? It amounts to we sack 10% of our workforce. and we're going to spend less money on product quality. That's what it all comes to. What's that going to bring? I'll tell you. Let me get to the guts of it. Management expects to generate COGS savings of 30 to 50 million and reduce SG&A expenses by 70 to 100 million within 12 to 18 months. It's not even going to be in the next quarter. It's going to be in a year and a half that those savings come. The savings of 70 to 100 million dollars. These savings are incremental to the previously announced cost savings of 150 to 200 million, of which the majority have already been achieved. And yet they still lose a ton of money. As a result of these changes, management anticipates charges between 250 and 300 million dollars in Q4 of 2022. The majority of which will be non-cash and relate to the write-down of excess inventory balances. No one wants our shit. As well as property, plant, and equipment impairments. We're going to shut down facilities. Further, the company expects to incur between 100 to 250 million in non-cash impairment charges in Q4. So that's 250 million minimum in charges for those strategic changes, plus another 100 million to 250 million. It's probably going to be closer to the 250 million in non-cash impairment charges. So you're looking at about, I don't know, $500 million in write-offs. And that's just in the coming quarter. Holy fuckballs. Like, how does anyone buy this stock and think it's coming right out the gate? They're telling you they're going to be losing money forever. They're telling you they're going to next quarter, they're going to lose $500 million just in write-downs, and that their margins are shit, and that their product is coming back from shelves and being burned. This is a company in free fall. Today, if you're looking at the share price, you're looking at what, $6? Is that the $6.82 off a low of $6.47? If I go back in time, you know the last time this was at $6.47? 2017. From 2017, this company went to $77 and came all the way back to $6. That's not even a 90% reduction. That's beyond a 90% reduction in share value. Now, admittedly, in 2020, it got down to about $13 and then climbed back up to 72. You know why? Because along came Constellation and blew things up. Everyone thought, oh, they're putting all this money, it's going to be great. What happened with Constellation? They wrote off $1 billion at a time with the losses on this terribly put together. And hey, Bruce, the guy who set this thing up for failure in the first place, who half the damn market thinks is a cannabis legend because he raised all this money on this dumb financial engineering and lack of attention paid to the actual product and the actual market and the actual consumer. Hey, Bruce, what do you think, looking back at this now, that a multi-billion-dollar company like Constellation couldn't even stop the fall that's been going on repeatedly since you left? Well, man, let me tell you, you got out at the right time. But the next thing that you're involved with, everyone should steer the fuck clear, because what you built here was a cruise liner out of balsa wood, and it is getting tattooed with icebergs right now. In December of last year, all the analysts said, hey, end of year, Canopy's going to have some tax loss selling. It might get down as low as $11 or $12. Hey, it's half that now. Half that now. Half what it was at tax loss selling season. And you know why? Because the true believers who've been on this thing since it was $72, watching their life savings go to zero, have been thinking, well, you know what, man? I can't possibly get off now. I'm down 90%. What's the point of getting out now? If everybody who's lost faith actually got out and preserved what they have left, this would be a $2 stock tomorrow. It is a shit company. Everything about it, in my opinion, is bullshit. And they're telling you this in their news releases. They're telling you in their news releases. All hope is gone. We're going to write the shit off in the next quarter. And the next quarter, and in 12 to 18 months, we might have $60 million of cost savings. What? What? Like, do yourself a favor if you're in Canada. Go to any dispensary and say, hey, can I get some Tweed products? I don't care what they are, just any Tweed product. Just get one Tweed product. Go home, try it. If you think it's not the worst, by all means, buy Canopy Growth Corp. But I guarantee you what's happened over the last 2 years is every quarter the market is talking and they are discounting Canopy Growth Corp because the products don't sell. And when you have 35 products and not one of them is a damn home run, you got a real problem on your hands. It's not that the brands weren't good. 7 Acres was the cream of the crop. It's that the brands aren't good. And if you're cutting quality and cutting expenses right now, when your share price is tumbling and your sales are tumbling, all you are doing is trying to stop the bleeding for a little bit and hope something happens federally in the US that will drive you back up to the top. Newsflash, in the next year, nothing's happening. If you own Canopy stock and you are down, which chances are 99% of people who own Canopy stock are down, even if they bought it today, get out. Salvage the money that you have. Go find an opportunity somewhere else. Find a little $19, $20 million company that has the opportunity to double on just the most basic good sales news. Find companies that are increasing their sales month to month, quarter to quarter, because they have one damn brand that is well received. Go out there and find the guys that are doing it right, that haven't got this massive valuation to get in front of, and I guarantee you there's money to be made in cannabis. If I think about what people talk about, though, when they talk about the cannabis sector, they talk about Tilray. They talk about Tilray. Like, I keep hearing people talk about Tilray. Why the fuck would you buy a $2.9 billion company that doesn't make money? Like, it's the same as Canopy. It's just Tilray came out the blocks as a multi-billion-dollar deal, $28 a share, and now is down to, what are they down to, $6.60? Why would you buy Tilray? It's worth $2.8 billion on the market cap right now, and it doesn't make any money. It's every bit as dog shit as Canopy because it played the same game of let's raise a bunch of money, let's buy a bunch of stuff because it will increase our market cap so we can raise a bunch more money. The piper eventually needs to be paid for that bullshit, and that is happening right now. If you look at the share chart over the last 2 years for Tilray, it is a horror show. It is an absolute horror show. And honest to God, if you're going to invest in cannabis, do a little bit of research. Find a chart that's looking okay. You know, find a chart that's like, yeah, okay, interesting. But don't go into these bullshit deals where 90% of the price has come off and it's still overvalued. I'm sorry if I've raised your blood pressure, and I'm sorry if you're a Canopy investor who's been stuck on this dog shit stock long enough that you're just underwater and can't possibly think of what you could do differently. Let me point a thing out to you. If you got in there when it was at 50 or 40 or 30 or $20 and you thought it's come down as much as it can, it's got to go up soon, you weren't reading the forward projections from the CEO that were telling you it's not going to be profitable. They were telling you this is a cleanup and it's going to take years. They bought in. I don't know how they bought in. I don't know how Constellation bought into this thing with their eyes open, having their people go through every piece of due diligence, and they still bought in. I can't even imagine. It is the dumbest purchase since Time Warner got bought by AOL. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to anybody. I hope for your sake that you've learned some lessons down the way. But if you still hold the stock thinking it's not worth selling because it can't go down much more, and you forget that you said that at $20 and $15 and $11 4 months ago, please learn the lesson. You have some value there that you can still get by selling your stock today and getting into something else that has a better opportunity. Canopy is 5 years away from a point where it is going to project upwards. That's my opinion. 5 years away, at least 2 years away. Why write it down in the time till then? Why do it? Why take that further loss that you've been taking every single quarter? I see you out there on Facebook on the investor group saying, here we go, financials coming out, it's going to be better. Dude, read the previous financials. They're telling you it's going to be worse. I'm just freaking you out right now. Please, there's opportunities out there. There may not be cannabis opportunities. They may be silver opportunities. They may be biotech. They may be psychedelics. They may be sports or esports or blockchain. Hell, if you were in blockchain stocks, you're doing better than if you were in Canopy for the last 3 years. And that is horrible. Honestly, guys, I want you to save your money. And I hate this company. I hate it with the passion of 1,000 Earth Suns.